I wake up in a roadside motel off Highway 41. The curtains are thin, letting in just enough light to confirm it's early. 6:10 a.m. according to the cheap digital clock. Outside, a convoy of trucks rolls by, one after the other, loud enough to shake the window pane. I'm alone. Again. This is my third business trip in 2 months. I work as a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized distribution network, which is just a fancy way of saying I drive a lot and show up at locations where nobody's excited to see me. Some stores still think the internet is a fad, and I'm the reminder that corporate wants more TikToks and less handwritten signs taped to coolers. Before I left town yesterday, I didn't say goodbye to Alex. He was asleep when I walked out. Or maybe just pretending. Either way, I didn't check. He got home at 4 a.m. again, reeking of someone else's perfume, the sweet, heavy kind that sticks to your clothes even after a shower. It's not new. I haven't cried about it in over a year. At some point, silence just became easier. At the gas station, while filling up and scanning the snack aisle for something with protein that isn't beef jerky, my phone buzzes. James Collins. New, regional manager. Transferred in last quarter from Charlottesville. Nobody knows what to make of him yet. Too polished, too polite. He looks people in the eye for just a little too long, the kind of guy who holds the door open even if you're 20 feet away. Some people say he's fake, others say he's trying, too hard. I pick up. Morning, he says, like we're old friends. You still around Bradenton? Thought I'd bring you a coffee if you're near the 41. There's a pause. Not the awkward kind. Just long enough to know he means it. I say, yes. He laughs. Black with 1 sugar, right? I don't remember ever telling him that. When he pulls up 10 minutes later, he's in a dark blue rental with Virginia plates. His shirt's not even wrinkled. He hands me a coffee through the window, and for some reason, I actually smile. Not just with my mouth, the real kind. The kind I used to give Alex before he stopped looking at me. We sit on the curb outside for a minute. It's early, but the Florida heat is already creeping in under the overhang. James talks about nothing. Traffic, weather, the breakfast sandwich he regrets eating. I let him ramble. It's peaceful. Then I realize I haven't checked my email since last night. I pull out my phone. 12 unread. A couple flagged from my boss with subject lines like, need quick update ASAP and, where are we on Q3 layout? I sigh. James notices. You all right? I nod. Just drowning in corporate enthusiasm. He chuckles and leans back on his hands. Let me guess. Slide decks that no one reads and KPIs that change every quarter? I give him a look. You've been in enough meetings to know. Been in enough meetings to want to fake my own death, he says. I laugh. Really laugh. And realize how foreign it feels. Like I forgot how my voice sounds when it's not filtered through small talk or frustration. He stands and brushes off his jeans. Come on. I'll follow you to, the store. We can be miserable together. There's something in his tone that's half joke, half invitation, but I don't overthink it. Not yet. I get in my car, start the engine, and glance in the rearview mirror. James is behind me, waiting. It's not much, but it feels like the first honest moment I've had in months. And I let it happen. By noon, we're parked side by side behind the warehouse in a dusty lot that smells like sun-warmed concrete and fryer oil. The local burger joint is the only place nearby that doesn't look like a health code violation, so we eat in James's rental. The AC turned up high, fries scattered between us, wrappers rustling every time we shift. I'm half listening, as he tells a story about the time his old car caught fire on a bridge in North Carolina. Something about a cracked fuel line, a barely functioning extinguisher, and a tow truck driver named Roy who offered him chewing tobacco and life advice in the same sentence. I'm laughing before I realize how close I've leaned in, elbow against the console, knees turned toward him like we're in the middle of something intimate instead of inhaling burgers under fluorescent sky. It hits me then. I haven't been this relaxed with someone in a long time. Certainly not with Alex. Not with anyone, really. James wipes his hands on a napkin and glances sideways, half grinning. You don't have to pretend it was a good story, I smirk, licking salt from my fingertip. It wasn't bad. The mental image of you with singed eyebrows made it worth it. He laughs, then turns quiet for a second, like he's deciding whether to say what's next. You don't talk much about home. I pause. reaching for the last fry like it'll delay my answer. Not much to say. He lets that sit, doesn't push. After lunch, we meet with two store managers who couldn't care less about our promo, materials. One of them, a guy in a faded polo with a Bluetooth headset permanently attached to his ear, actually picks up a personal call while I'm in the middle of explaining a seasonal display strategy. I look over at James, expecting him to be irritated, but he just watches me with this low, amused smile, like he's impressed I haven't snapped. We finish faster than planned. I need to pick up some sample signage we left here during a previous rollout, so we head into the back of the warehouse where everything smells like cardboard and stale sugar from a broken vending machine. The storage room is tighter than I remembered, more of a large closet, really. And I'm trying to navigate a stack of boxes without knocking over a tower of cleaning supplies when James steps in behind me. Need a hand? He asks, already reaching over me before I can answer. His hand brushes my waist, lightly, almost incidentally. But it lingers, just a second too long to chalk up to balance. It's nothing overt. No one would call it a move. But I feel it. In my spine. I don't step away. We both freeze, barely a breath between us, surrounded by duct tape rolls and outdated branded posters. It's not even a moment, really. It's the breath before the moment. The unspoken acknowledgement that something just shifted and we both noticed. Then he clears his throat, steps back like he remembered where we are, and I pull the box I came for with hands that suddenly feel like they don't belong to me. We don't speak of it. Back in the front office, everything's back to normal. Or the version of normal that follows after something slightly off has happened and everyone's pretending it didn't. Jenna, one of the warehouse managers I've only spoken to a handful of times, catches my eye from across the room and gives me a half smile. It's subtle, maybe just polite acknowledgement. But there's something in it that makes me uneasy. Like she saw something I didn't mean to show. James and I wrap up the last notes on our checklist, trade goodbyes with the staff, and head back out into the blinding late afternoon heat. We walk to our cars without saying much. The earlier ease is gone, replaced by something quieter, heavier. As I turn the key in my ignition, I glance in my rearview mirror again, the same way I did this morning. But this time, when I see James walking toward his car, I don't feel like I'm headed into a routine day. I feel like I'm already somewhere I shouldn't be. That night, somewhere between exhaustion and the dull throb in my ankle from twisting it on a cracked loading dock step, I lay in bed in another identical motel room. Off-white walls, stiff sheets, a chair no one ever sits in, scrolling through emails I should have answered hours ago and telling myself I'll get up early to catch up. I know I won't. The TV's on mute, just to have something moving in the room besides my own thoughts, when my phone starts buzzing on the nightstand. It's almost midnight. Alex. I stare at the screen, not because I'm surprised he's calling, but because I already know what kind of call it's going to be. I answer anyway. He's slurring a little, not sloppy drunk, but just enough that the truth is leaking through faster than usual. He tells me it's his birthday, like I forgot. Which I did. I murmur an apology that doesn't sound like much. He says he's been thinking about us, about how things used to be. Says he bought 2 tickets to Aspen on a whim, wants to go in the fall. Just the 2 of us. Clean slate, maybe a fresh start. I sit up, cradling the phone against my shoulder. The ice pack I slapped on my ankle hours ago has already melted into a lukewarm puddle in a towel. I press my fingertips against the bruise anyway, like maybe a little pain will help me focus. I tell him I'll think about the trip, my voice calm but hollow, like someone playing the role of a wife on speakerphone, while he's still talking, still explaining how he's changed, how he hasn't been drinking as much, how he misses things that I can't even remember. There's a knock at the door, 3 quiet taps. I don't even have to guess. When I open it, James is standing there with a gas station bag in one hand and a small, rattling plastic cup of ice in the other. He nods toward my foot with an awkward little smile. Figured you might need a refill. I stand there for a second, frozen not out of shock or indecision, but because I forgot how to manage 2 separate lives colliding in real time. I'm still holding the phone to my ear, and Alex is saying something about how the leaves turn red, in the Rockies like nowhere else. His voice filters into the air between me and James, loud enough for both of us to hear. James's eyes flick toward the phone, then back to mine. There's no accusation in his expression, just a kind of quiet retreat, like he walked into a room and realized it wasn't his to enter. He holds the cup of ice out, and I take it without saying anything. He nods once, barely noticeable, and turns to go. I close the door gently, more aware of the sound it makes than I should be. My chest tightens, but not with guilt, not exactly. It's more like disappointment that something warm got interrupted by something familiar. I don't hang up right away. I listen to Alex talk about plane seats and a lodge he found online until his words start to blur together, the way they do when someone's speaking more for themselves than for you. Eventually, I tell him I'm tired, that we'll talk more. Tomorrow. He doesn't fight it. Just says goodnight, and I can hear the loneliness in his voice even through the static. I toss the phone back onto the bed and stare at the cup of ice in my hand. It's starting to melt already. Everything always is. I don't sleep much that night, not because of the pain in my ankle or the hum of the highway outside, but because some part of me knows I've already made a choice, even if I haven't said it out loud yet. 2 days later, I'm in Jacksonville, checked into a slightly nicer hotel with actual carpet that doesn't feel like it's hiding a crime scene. I've showered, dressed in the company-approved business casual that somehow manages to make everyone look both forgettable and overdressed, and met James in the lobby for what is, on paper, just another regional site visit. From 9 in the C, morning until 5:30, everything moves like it's supposed to. Meetings with partners, a walkthrough of the latest promo displays, long conversations about seasonal rollouts and bulk pricing incentives. I take notes, nod in the right places, ask the expected questions. James keeps it professional, easy, polished, the version of him that's careful with tone and posture, the one people in the office admire without really knowing why. Nobody watching us would guess that anything unscripted had ever happened between us. At lunch, we sit across from each other at a long table with 2 distributors we're trying to charm. He barely looks at me, and I pretend not to notice. His jokes are safe, his language precise. I could almost believe I imagined the quiet moment in the storage room or the soft knock on my motel door. Almost. By the time the workday ends, the sun is low and the city starts to soften into something less corporate. I go back to my room, planning to order bad takeout and fall asleep with the TV humming, but my phone buzzes around 7. James, roof bar, whines on me. You don't owe me conversation. I stare at the message for a full minute before I throw on a jacket and take the elevator up. The rooftop is mostly empty, save for a couple near the far railing and a bartender polishing glasses like it's a movie. The view isn't romantic, just a sprawl of freight cranes and shipping containers lit up like someone tried to make them pretty and gave up halfway through. But there's a strange kind of peace in it. Industrial, blank, honest. James is already there, holding a half-empty glass of red and looking like he hasn't exhaled all day. Didn't think you'd come, he says without standing. I didn't either, I admit, settling into the chair beside him. We don't talk shop. No mentions of clients or invoices or who's getting promoted next. Instead, he tells me he's been thinking about leaving. Not just the company, but the country. Says he's tired of pretending to be someone people trust just because he wears a clean shirt and remembers names. He says it casually, but the edge in his voice gives him away. I ask him where he'd go. He says maybe Portugal or Chile, somewhere with fewer spreadsheets and more sky. He laughs, but it doesn't sound like a joke. The wine goes down faster than I expect. I don't remember who leaned in first, only that 1 minute we were talking, and the next his mouth was on mine. Sudden, unsure, not cinematic or smooth, just real. A little off-center, like neither of us knew the angle. But I didn't pull away. We don't go back to my room. We go to his. The room is dark except for the hallway light spilling in before the door closes. No words. Just his hands at my waist, my fingers at his collar. Everything is rushed and quiet and completely deliberate. I don't feel like I'm making a mistake. Not yet. I feel like I'm surfacing from something that kept me under for too long. Later, when we're tangled in sheets that smell like hotel detergent and body heat, I stare at the ceiling and listen to James breathing. Beside me. Not snoring, just existing. It's a sound that fills the room without asking for anything. I don't fall asleep right away. Not because I'm unsure of what happened, but because for the first time in months, maybe years, I don't feel numb. There's no talk of what it means. No plans, no promises, no morning after deals. Just the understanding that something broke open between us, and that I let it. The drive back home feels longer than it actually is. I take the slow way, ignoring the navigation app and choosing the roads that run parallel to the highway. The ones that curve through nothing towns and past shuttered gas stations and old diners with open signs that flicker like they're lying. There's something about dragging it out that feels necessary. Like I need the time to build up a version of myself I can walk back into the house with. When I finally pull into the driveway, the porch light is on. That used to mean something, back when Alex and I were still trying. Now, it's just a default. Probably a timer, the kind of setting you forget to change even after everything else changes. Inside, he's cooking. I blink for a second because it's so unexpected that my brain doesn't register it. He's in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hair still wet from a shower, sautéing something in a pan with a focus I haven't seen in years. The table's set for two. Real plates, cloth napkins. He turns when he hears the door. "Hey," he says, like this is just any evening. I hover near the entryway, not sure what version of myself I'm supposed to use right now. "What's all this?" He shrugs like it's no big deal. "Figured I'd cook. You've been on the road forever. Thought you might want a real meal." The smell of garlic and rosemary hits me, and something in my chest tightens. He's trying. For once, it's not some half-assed apology or last-minute peace offering. He really planned this. I sit down across from him and we eat in near silence, except it doesn't feel cold this time. It feels cautious, like we're both waiting to see what happens if we don't talk over it. After dinner, he pours us both a drink. Just soda. He says he's been going to meetings. Quit drinking for real this time. He talks about a new job at a logistics firm and how maybe it's time we thought about starting over, maybe even starting a family. He says it like someone who believes it's possible, and the part of me that should be moved by that just sits there quietly, watching him like a stranger. That's when it hits me. The weight of my own damage. Not just what happened with James, but everything before that. The months of detaching, of staying quiet when I should have spoken, of checking out before I even realized I'd left. I used to think Alex was the only one who drifted away, but now I'm sitting here, watching this man try to put us back together, and I know it's not that simple. I didn't just let things fall apart. I helped. Later that night, after he's asleep, breathing steady, hand resting loosely against my side like it belongs there, I lie awake staring at the ceiling fan, its blades turning with lazy indifference. I pick up my phone and start typing a message to James. It's not long. Just a few sentences. I say I think we should stop. That what happened wasn't nothing, but it can't keep happening. That I need to be a better version of myself than I've been lately. I stare at it, read it once, then twice. But I don't. Send it. In the morning, I wake up to a missed call from James, a voicemail. His voice sounds smaller than I remember, like he recorded it from somewhere he didn't want to be. He says his wife's in a facility now, rehab. Says it's serious. Says he's staying. Doesn't say much else. I listen to it twice, then delete it without saving. What I feel isn't simple. It's not just sadness or guilt or anger. It's a mix of all three and something else underneath. Something like relief, sharp and hollow. I tell myself that this is the end of it, but I don't quite believe it. A week passes. Things at home settle into something that resembles peace. Alex wakes up earlier now, drinks smoothies, reads articles on his phone instead of doom-scrolling social media. He even sets up a little herb garden on the kitchen windowsill, basil, mint, something else I can't name, and jokes that domestic life suits him. I nod, I smile, I go along with it. But the truth is, I'm still somewhere else. Work is louder. More meetings, more emails, more deadlines pretending to be emergencies. I try to keep my head down, blend into the gray, noise of team syncs and sales forecasts. But something's shifted. It's in the way people pause when I walk into a room, or how two managers from another region suddenly stop talking when I pass their desks on a site visit. None of it is obvious, but it's there. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, it happens. I'm Bao. In the parking lot outside a client store, balancing my laptop on my knee and finishing a last-minute report, when my phone buzzes. No name, just a random number and a message that looks harmless at first. I know who slept with who in Jacksonville. Think the warehouse isn't talking? That's it. No threats, no name, not even a typo. Just clean and sharp, like whoever sent it knew exactly how much would be enough. My stomach drops in that slow, delayed way where the brain catches up before the body does. I sit perfectly still, the Florida heat pressing against the windows, the buzz of nearby traffic suddenly Far away. My hands go cold. I don't reply. I don't delete it either. For a minute, I think maybe it's James. Maybe this is his way of drawing a line, pushing me away, making it final. But no, it's not his voice. It's not careful enough. It's pointed. I open Instagram without thinking and start scrolling. Jenna's page is public, which surprises me, and I scan through her last few posts. Generic office stuff, filtered selfies, some random quotes about knowing your worth. But one catches my eye, a photo from a warehouse happy hour. It's her and some guy I don't recognize at first. They're laughing. Her caption is something vague and clean, but when I look closer, I realize the guy with her is Rob, one of the senior directors from corporate, the one who's been overseeing our region since the reorg. And then I know, of course it's her. Jenna saw something in the warehouse. Maybe more than I thought. Maybe she's been waiting for a reason, or maybe she just wanted leverage. Maybe she never planned to use it until it got her something she wanted. 2 days later, the company sends out a memo. She's been promoted. New title. Bigger territory. A bump in salary. No one says anything about me, but the silence around me gets louder. One of my projects gets reassigned without warning. A client I've worked with for over a year suddenly asks for a new point of contact. And when I check the internal chat, I see a string of messages between team leads, not about me directly, but close enough to know my name's come up in the wrong context. I don't say anything to Alex. At home, we make pancakes on Saturday morning like we used to. He stands behind me, kisses my neck, flips bacon while humming something under his breath. I smile, laugh when I'm supposed to, take a picture of the plate for no one in particular. From the outside, we look fixed. Normal, maybe even happy. But every time I check my phone, every time an unknown number appears, I flinch. Not from guilt. Not anymore. From knowing I've lost control of the story. By the third Sunday in a row, I'm sitting in a pew at Grace Fellowship Church with my hands folded neatly in my lap, like someone who's always belonged there. Alex sings along to the hymns, not with passion, but with this steady, low hum that somehow makes him seem more present than I've seen him in years. I don't sing. I mouth the words and nod politely to the people who recognize us from the week before. He introduces me to a couple from his office, Mark and Tasha, newly married, pregnant already. Tasha has that bright, unbothered energy of someone who genuinely believes the worst thing that can happen is a delayed flight or a cold dinner. She squeezes my arm when she says it's so nice to see us here, and I give her the kind of smile I've learned to perfect. Soft, agreeable, unreadable. After church, we join them for brunch at a cafe where everything is reclaimed wood and turmeric lattes. I stir my coffee while Mark and Alex talk about inventory software and warehouse automation like it's a thrilling topic. Every now and then, Alex reaches for my hand under the table. I let him. We start doing this every week. Church, brunch, walks in the park. Pancake Saturdays turn into grocery store Sundays. We join a couples group through the church, where everyone shares stories about growing together through hardship. Alex tells ours like a redemption arc. Years of drift, near collapse, and now a clean start. Everyone claps at the end. Someone even cries. Back home, he tells me how proud he is. He says he can feel us getting better. I nod. I don't tell him that every time he touches me, it feels like I'm watching a rerun. That when we have sex now, it's quiet and soft and careful. Like we're preserving something delicate instead of reaching for each other. He kisses my shoulder afterward and pulls me close, and I hold still, because that's what a wife does. That's the part I agreed to play. But most nights once he's asleep, I lie there staring into the dark, feeling nothing and everything at once. My body's here, in this bed, in this life. But something in me is still back in Jacksonville. In that rooftop bar. In that room with the hotel sheets and a version of myself I didn't recognize but didn't hate. At work, the walls are tighter. Everyone's still professional, still polite, but the way they look at me has changed. There's this faint sense that I've been labeled, not loudly, not officially, but quietly, effectively. My emails take longer to get replies. My ideas get folded into other people's presentations without credit. I walk into meetings and feel like I'm watching everyone play a game I'm no longer invited to. Jenna walks by my desk one afternoon. She doesn't stop, just smirks a little, like someone who's already won. I don't say a word. I don't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I go home and start organizing drawers, throwing out receipts, folding towels with unnecessary precision. I scrub the grout in the bathroom even though it's already clean. I need everything to look right, because that's the only part I can control anymore. One night, Alex comes home with a plant. He says it's for our bedroom, something green, calming. I don't ask what kind. I just place it on the nightstand, water it once and forget about it. Weeks pass. To the outside world, we look better than ever. Church people comment on how strong our marriage seems. Alex's coworkers talk about how he's really turned it around. My parents call more often. I tell them everything's fine, and for a while, I start to believe the lie we're both living. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror and see a woman I don't fully recognize, someone playing a role she didn't audition for, trying not to let the seams show. Because the truth is, I'm not better, I'm just quieter about it now. It's the Atlanta Corporate Summit, one of those company-wide events they throw once a year to align vision and celebrate wins. But really, it's just a well-dressed hostage situation with buffet food and half-hearted applause. We're packed into a downtown hotel ballroom with artificial lighting and motivational banners that look like they were designed in 2008. I'm wearing the blazer that makes me feel slightly more armored than usual. My badge reads, Senior Marketing, Coordinator in blocky caps, which somehow makes me feel smaller, not bigger. There's a social mixer after the main sessions. Wine, hors d'oeuvres, soft jazz playing like it wants to be ignored. I hover near the back wall, sipping cheap Merlot out of a plastic glass and nodding through conversations I won't remember. Then I see him. James. He's across the room, leaning against the bar like he's been there a while. Hair slightly longer, shirt untucked, posture looser. There's a drink in his hand, something clear with a lime wedge, and when he spots me, his face shifts. Not into a smile, but into something closer to recognition. Like seeing a word you forgot you knew. I hesitate. But he doesn't. He crosses the room like he's not thinking about it. No hesitation in his walk. He stops in front of me and says, "You look good." Not as a compliment, not as a line, just a statement, like he doesn't expect a response. "You look drunk," I say back, and it makes him laugh. The kind of laugh that breaks tension instead of creating more. "Been a year," he says. Feels longer. He looks around, like he's checking who might be watching. Then he says, "Lower." "She's gone. Left. Took the apartment, the dog, half the furniture. I let her." I don't say anything. I'm not even sure what emotion to reach for. He watches me carefully, but not in the way that demands anything. "Do you ever think about it?" he asks. "That night?" I take a sip of wine. "Sometimes." "Me too," he says, more easily than I expect. More than sometimes. The silence between us isn't awkward, just full. Everything we didn't say when it happened is still floating somewhere between us, and neither of us is trying to swat it away. There's no flirting. No performance, just memory. Then he leans in slightly, like he's about to say something reckless but necessary. "I regret not stopping you when you started to pull away." I meet his eyes. "I regret not pulling away sooner." He nods, like he expected that answer but still needed to hear it. After a long pause, we leave the room at the same time, not holding hands, not even walking side by side, just heading in the same direction. In the hotel restaurant's hallway bathroom, we kiss. It's clumsy and sudden, the kind of kiss that happens because it can't not. His hand brushes the back of my neck like he's afraid it's the last time, and maybe it is. There's no sex, no invitation, just mouths and hands and old gravity. When we pull apart, I rest my forehead against his and exhale, eyes closed. He whispers, "I never stopped wanting you." I open my eyes. That's the problem. Neither of us says goodbye. I go back to my room and sit on the edge of the bed for a long time, wine glass still in hand, dress wrinkled, makeup smudged in the corners. I don't cry. I don't call anyone. I just sit there, aware of the pulse, in my own body and the weight of something I thought I'd buried coming back up like it was waiting for me to drop my guard. It's not love, not even longing. It's a kind of unfinished business that doesn't go away just because you walked away from it. And even now, I'm not sure if I want it gone. The photo appears online 3 days later, Casually, quietly, without fanfare, or caption. Just dropped into a carousel of snapshots from a warehouse event someone reposted on the company's internal page. At first glance, it looks like any other forgettable corporate photo. Two employees chatting, others in the background, a table with snacks no one wanted. But near the edge of the frame, almost out of focus, there's me and James, standing just close enough to be noticed if someone's looking for something. My hand is near his chest, not touching but hovering in that unmistakable way that speaks louder than contact. His eyes are on mine, and we both look like we forgot the rest of the world existed. The moment I see it, I feel something hollow open in my chest. Not fear, not even shame. Just a recognition that what we'd buried has been pulled into the light, not with words or confessions, but with something worse, an image no one can explain away. That night, Alex comes home late. I know immediately. He doesn't speak when he walks in, doesn't take off his coat, just drops his keys in the bowl by the door and heads straight for the kitchen. I follow, but I don't say anything yet. He pours a glass of water, drinks half of it, then leans against the counter like he needs it to stay upright. When he finally speaks, his voice is low, not angry, just exhausted. So, that's what Jacksonville was. I stay still. He doesn't look at me when he says it. But I can feel the heat in his words, not from rage, but from something colder. The kind of pain that doesn't need to shout to be permanent. I open my mouth to say something, but he cuts me off with a bitter laugh. That sounds more like disbelief than anything else. You know what's funny? I didn't even need proof. I just needed a reason to stop pretending. He sets the glass down gently, like he's trying not to break it. You were always somewhere else, long before that photo. I just didn't want to admit it. I finally managed to say, it wasn't just about James. It was about everything. He nods, slowly, like he's already had this conversation with himself a dozen times. Yeah, I know. And maybe that makes it worse. We stand there in the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the air between us full of the kind of honesty that always shows up too late. Then he looks at me directly, and there's nothing gentle left in his face. You were the first one to stop trying. You just did it quietly so I wouldn't notice. I want to fight that, to argue. But I can't, because it's true. The thing that breaks me isn't that he found out. It's that he doesn't yell, doesn't demand, doesn't punish. He just states the fact and walks away, like someone leaving a room that's been on fire for so long they stopped smelling the smoke. He spends that night on the couch. I don't sleep. In the morning, he's gone. Left a note on the kitchen table, just a folded sheet of printer paper that says, taking some time. Don't text. I sit at the table for a long time, the note in front of me, my coffee going cold. There's no collapse, no dramatic unraveling, no scream into the void. Just a slow, quiet emptiness where something used to be. That day at work, I get called into a meeting about a project I thought was mine, a campaign I'd pitched months ago, developed from scratch, and now suddenly it's being reassigned to someone else without explanation. The director's tone is vague, but the message is clear. They're moving on, and I'm being moved aside. I nod, say I understand, and leave the room before I let anything show. That night I get a package. No return address. Just a small box, hand-delivered by courier. Inside is a necklace. A silver pendant in the shape of a broken heart, clean and sharp, and somehow elegant in its fracture. There's no note, no card, no signature. I know exactly who it's from. Hold it for a long time before slipping it over my neck, tucking it under my blouse, hidden from view but heavy enough to feel. By the time the dust even begins to settle, the structure of my life has already been hollowed out, piece by piece, without ceremony or announcement. Alex moves out 2 weeks after that last conversation, and it happens so quietly that I almost miss it. He doesn't make a scene. He doesn't leave a final message or a fight or even a question. He simply takes what matters to him. His work laptop, a half-packed suitcase, the PlayStation he always said he'd sell but never did, and slips out the door sometime between my morning meeting and lunch. When I come home that evening, the apartment feels slightly lopsided. Not broken, not chaotic. Just wrong in the kind of way that you can't quite name, like a photo that's been framed slightly crooked. There's an absence in the air, and it's not loud or dramatic. It's just real. I stand in the hallway longer than I need to, scanning the space like I'm trying to notice something specific, but there's nothing obvious. A few shirts are missing from the closet. His shoes are gone from the front rack. A charger disappears from my nightstand. But everything else, the furniture, the rugs, the carefully arranged throw pillows I used to nag him about, all still here, untouched. He doesn't slam the door on his way out. He doesn't even lock it behind him. Work isn't much better. Whatever thread of credibility I'd been holding on to starts to unravel fast. Whispers become decisions. My name starts disappearing from meetings I was supposed to lead. A project I spent 6 months on is quietly reassigned, and no one gives me a reason. I ask one of the junior managers, someone I trained myself, and she won't even meet my eyes when she tells me, leadership's just going in a different direction. They don't fire me. That would be too clean. Instead, they isolate me. Slowly, efficiently, and without anything traceable enough to fight. One evening, I come home to find a small brown package on the floor inside my door. Hand-delivered. No courier. No address. Just sitting there like it had been placed. By someone who wanted to be sure I'd see it without being seen. The box is matte cardboard, sealed with a single piece of black tape. No markings, no sender. Inside, wrapped in a layer of tissue paper, is a necklace. It's delicate. Silver, thin chain, holding a charm shaped like a heart split down the center. Not cartoonish or cheap, but deliberate, like it was designed. To be broken. There's no note, no explanation, no name tucked beneath the tissue, just the necklace, simple and final. I don't need a note to know who sent it. James. Not as an apology. Not as a gesture of romance. Something else entirely. A kind of acknowledgement. A shared sentence served silently. A piece of debris from something that was never going to end cleanly, handed off with just enough care to suggest he knows it still matters. I sit on the edge of the bed for a while, holding the necklace in my hand, the metal cold between my fingers. The apartment is too quiet, too still, and I suddenly realize how much of my life was filled with noise that kept me from hearing myself. The arguments, the routines, the emails, the justifications, all of it had layered over something much simpler. I was unhappy, and I didn't stop it. I caused things too, not just reactions. Choices. Eventually, I clasped the chain around my neck, tucking the charm under my blouse before I walk to the kitchen. I make tea. I wash one plate from the morning. I sit down in the silence and let it be what it is. There's no explosion at the end. No final confrontation. No closure sealed in a neat little package. What happens instead is quieter, which makes it worse in a way. Like something slipping out from under you before you realize it was even moving. Alex leaves for good on a Thursday. There's no advance warning, no bitter text, no second round of accusations. I come home from a meeting that felt more like a eulogy for my career than anything productive, and the apartment feels emptier than usual. At first, I think maybe I'm imagining it again. That slow, invisible subtraction of presence. But then I see the space under the TV where the PlayStation used to be, a few drawers slightly ajar, the smell of his cologne still faint in the hall. And this time, I know. He's not coming back. He doesn't leave a note. Just takes what's his and disappears in that final, careful way people do when they've already grieved the goodbye. It should devastate me, but it doesn't. Not because it doesn't matter, but because the version of me who would have fallen apart over it is already gone. I've been shedding her for months now, piece by piece. At work, everything slides further off course. A rumor makes it to one of our VPs, about Jacksonville, about James, about me. No one confirms anything officially, but I start seeing my projects rerouted, my emails passed over, my requests met with slow measured delays. They don't fire me, they just let me sink. By the end of the month, Jenna's promotion is announced to the entire Southeast region. There's a memo, a smiling photo, a list of accomplishments that reads like a resume scrubbed of blood. I scroll through the announcement while standing in the office kitchen, pretending to be interested in my coffee as two junior associates discuss her meteoric rise, like it's inspiring instead of calculated. I don't say anything. I've already learned the value of silence in rooms like this. Eventually, I stop fighting it. I let the projects go. I stop defending my role. I start showing up late to meetings and leaving early, knowing no one will call me on it. I can't even bring myself to care anymore about the brand decks, the inventory plans, the fake smiles during strategy sessions. The woman who walked into this job with ideas and fire and plans is gone, and the one who's left doesn't have enough anger left to fake it. One night, I end up at a bar in Tallahassee, half by accident, half on purpose. I'd driven out of town after another empty meeting, planning to visit a supplier the next morning, and found myself parked outside. A dive bar with neon signs that buzzed like dying bees. The place smells like old wood and tap beer and bad decisions. I order a cider, not because I want one, but because I need something to hold. I sit at the far end, mostly invisible, letting the noise fill the hollow space where worry used to be. A guy slides onto the stool next to mine, maybe late 20s, worn company jacket, tired eyes that have seen enough to know when not to say too much. He glances at my name badge, still clipped to my bag. "You're with Northridge Distribution?" I nod, not fully looking at him. He smiles, casual but not cocky. "Thought so. You were in Jacksonville last quarter, right?" I turn toward him slowly, the air in my chest freezing just slightly. He doesn't sound accusing, doesn't look smug. He just says it like someone noting the weather, neutral, factual, unmoved. "I've heard a lot about you," he adds, voice low, almost respectful. I hold his gaze for a second longer than necessary, and then I smile, not out of warmth or charm, but out of something else, something older, wiser, wrecked. "Yeah," I say. "You probably have." He nods, sips his beer, doesn't press. The jukebox clicks into another song, something twangy and soft. I sit back, watching the light bend through my glass, the pendant around my neck cold against my skin, hidden under a blouse no one cares about anymore. I know I should feel regret. Maybe I do. But more than that, I feel a strange, sharp clarity. Not peace. I'm nowhere near that. But truth. And that's something. I don't know who I am now, or who I'll be next. But I know one thing for sure. Whatever comes next won't be about pretending.